Hi everybody, Gigi Santoro, Santoro & Sons Real Estate Group, here today with another great public service announcement regarding irrigation. Now, I know you think that we got past all that drought stuff, but I disagree. You know, life is going to happen again and maybe we won't get so much rain. So we need to start managing our resources, and here is an example of how to do that. Now, I sell a lot of homes. I get clients that call me all the time and they say, I water as much as I can, and how come my lawn has dead spots in it? Or why doesn't my planters, why don't they get watered and stuff like that? And it really comes down to how they set up their irrigation. Burbank had a rule for a while where you're only allowed to water 2 days a week, and so people did exactly that. But if their system wasn't set up correctly, then they ended up overwatering some areas and underwatering other areas, resulting in an uneven and not beautiful looking yard. So we're going to flash a photo here of what my yard looks like so that you can know that I am fairly good at gardening. I would say I'm a B+ to A- student, so you know. And that really is my yard. So I have really studied this. So here's how I would like to explain it to you. I brought today a bunch of stuff to look at and to go over. And the first thing I want to say is design your yard how you want it to look. So if you want grass in the front and a cute little pretty planter like I have when you walk up the walkway, then you need to just set up your sprinklers so that they water those items the way they need to be watered. Okay, and as we go through the process, you'll understand what I mean. So first thing first, we need to talk about this. This is a sprinkler timer. Okay, sprinkler timers can be 4 stations, 6 stations, 12 stations. I have a timer that Dodger Stadium uses that can take 150 stations. You don't need to go that far, but you need to have something that will work for you, and you need to have one timer. It's best to have one timer for the whole property, but if you need to have 2 timers, that you can do that front and back or whatever. But anyway, this is a 4-station timer. And it's really easy to use. It explains on the back all of the actual setup options, and anybody can do it. I mean, it's auto, off, what does it say? It says how often you want to do it, run time, all that stuff. So and there's a great manual in here, and I promise you will not have a problem with the timer once you read the manual. So if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them because I've gone through so many of them. So the first thing we have to have is a timer. The second thing we have to have is probably a little bit more complicated in a way, is called a valve. The valve and the timer connected, okay? These 2 things are connected by low voltage wires, okay? This timer, if you see this back thing right here, has a whole bunch of little screws, and that's where the electricity goes in. And these valves connect to those little screws there, okay? So this valve will control a section of sprinklers. And the way it works is that it's always in an on position. And then when the timer says, okay, it's time for you to work, the valve turns on the sprinklers that it is controlling for whatever period of time you put on your timer. Okay? So that's probably the most complicated part of this whole thing. So if you can get past the valve and the timer situation, then you're home free. The other thing I want to talk about really briefly about this though too is stations. When you read your manual, you're going to see where you have a certain number of stations, which is what I told you, 4 stations. You only want to connect one valve to a station. Don't connect multiple valves to a station, because that reduces your water pressure, and we're going to talk more about that in a minute, but I want you to keep that in mind when we talk about stations and valves, okay? All right, I'm going to slide these across, and now we're going to talk about sprinklers. See how many there are today? I only brought 3, but there's tons more. This is the sprinkler that you're probably most familiar with if you're my age, and that's the old-fashioned kind that we used to run through as kids. The valve turns on the water, it goes into the pipe that's connected here, the pressure pushes it up, and the sprinkler opens up like this, and it goes high in the air. That's how we were able to run through them and get all wet, right? This particular sprinkler, it will tell you exactly what it does, and this one is a 360-degree sprinkler, okay? That's kind of an important component too, and we'll talk about that in a minute. These are my least favorite sprinklers. Do I have some in my yard? Yes. Do I like them? No. And the reason is because they blow a lot of water into the air and it floats away, it evaporates. So it's really not the most best usage of water is the sprinkler. When these came out, these are these cool rotary sprinklers. I don't know if you can see the picture on the actual sprinkler, but these are these cool rotary sprinklers. And what they did is they created a low water usage that kind of works like your fingers. It drops down. The sprinkler, continues to create these streams of water. And okay, they're okay. I mean, I like them. I have a lot of these, but they have a tendency to have some drier parts of the lawn. Once the water goes into the sprinkler itself, this piece pops up, okay? And then it creates this kind of a circular motion to the grass, and it's supposed to water that entire area, and it does a pretty good job, okay? This one is a half. It's not a whole, it's not a 360 degree. It's only half of that, okay? So you want to keep that in mind too. But here is my favorite. This is the best one. This one is the rotary sprinkler idea, but it has the low profile, but it uses a spray. So everything gets wet. I mean, it really, really wets things. Now let me see if I can pull this one up. Yeah, this one's a little better. Okay, here we go. So this is how it happens. The valve turns on the water, okay, goes in the bottom, pressurizes this to pop up, and then it sprinkles in a fan kind of a thing, low to the ground, not high like this one, but that kind of spray low to the ground, and it gets everything really wet and does a fantastic job. This is a 360 degree sprinkler as well. Let's say, by chance, that you don't need a 360 degree sprinkler there. You really only need a half. You can make everything work together. This comes off and it has a little piece like this, okay? And you can buy a package at the store for $2 that you would replace the top, and it can be whatever you want. Let's say you need something that sprays only at an angle, or you need something that sprays only on one side. You can get this little tiny piece and screw it back on the top like this. Let me pull it out again. I got my tape there to try to keep it so I could get into it when I needed to. But you screw it back on like this, and now you've replaced that head with the one that you need, okay? I'm gonna let that go back down. So that is the story of the sprinkler irrigation. You want to sit down and lay out your yard as best you can, and then you want to go out and buy the right sprinkler for the job. Don't just think every single one fits the same thing, because it doesn't. Okay, so please call us. We're happy to talk to you about it. I love talking about gardening stuff. I enjoy it, so I'm happy to share my experience with you. And if you ever need a real estate agent, you know who to call. Have a great week.